Okay, good afternoon. This is the third episode of the SIIA Romandie Geneva webinar series. We will today explore the role of key intermediaries in the Swiss impact investing ecosystem. So my name is Christian Kinkombe, and I'm a member of the SIIA board, which I represented Swiss Romandie, along with Derek Quaiser de Stockalba and Isabella Albert from our advisory board. The agenda is structured as follows. Just minimize this so everyone can see. Okay. After my introduction to part one of the core program, I will then give each of our four main speakers approximately 10 minutes to share with the audience the what, the who, the how, and why to align action in their respective organizations. This will then be followed by part two, where my SIIA colleague, Denis Erkus, and myself will ask the speakers a series of questions. And there will then be an opportunity for a short exchange with the other attendees. We'll kindly ask the attendees to briefly introduce themselves by name, affiliation, and keep the questions short. The event ends with a few concluding remarks regarding the next SIIA event, how to become a member of SIIA, and how to participate in the Swiss Social and Impact Enterprise Survey, which we'll be launching this week. House rules, please turn on your microphones when you're not speaking in order not to disturb the listeners. This event is being recorded for the purpose of further outreach of the ideas being exchanged today. Okay. So in the SIIA webinar series, we're going to refer to the term sustainable investment as any investment approach integrating environmental, social, and corporate governance factors into the selection and management of investments. And as you know, there are 8 different forms of sustainable investment, and the last one is impact investing. This figure presents a classification of these 8 approaches. All approaches can be categorized according to their sustainability focus or intended effect. However, impact investing is the only category that demonstrates measurable impacts. Hence, this is the main reason why we at SIIA only focuses on impact investment and not the other sustainable investment categories. Based on the Global Impact Investing Network's latest annual Impact Investor Survey, there are currently approximately $750 billion of asset under management in the impact investing asset class. More than 60%, that is $443 billion are invested through listed asset strategies, and the rest, about $272 billion are invested through private asset strategies. Of those, about 60%, that is $159 billion are invested in emerging and frontier markets. This is what is considered as development finance, being both a subsection of sustainable finance in a sense of integrating ESG norms into the investment value chain, and impact investing in a sense of positively addressing the SDGs. In comparison, impact investing and its development finance investments form only a small fraction of the global capital market. They nevertheless enjoy very strong backwinds and attraction amongst asset managers and wealth management operators, as we have seen recently here in Switzerland. The gap in the margin of progression towards becoming a significant portion of sustainable finance, let alone mainstreaming capital market, offers impressive growth prospects. Estimates show that the broader sustainable finance landscape, which includes ESG integration strategy, stands at $35 trillion in 2021, according to the latest biennial report from the Global Sustainable Investment Alliance. And ESG strategies have taken up an important share of the overall global asset and wealth management industry in recent years at approximately 33% of the total. How is SIIA positioned? How is SIIA different from the other players in this space? SIIA will soon become an integral part of the global steering group for impact investing. We work closely with the market enablers, for example, the impact hubs or accelerators in Switzerland and beyond. And we look at the full impact value chain, not just the suppliers of impact capital. And we seek to optimize the cross-fertilization between the two main linguistic areas of Switzerland. And finally, we endeavor to bring together the tech revolution and the impact revolution as a special theme of this webinar series, and a new working group which will be led by Isabelle Albert. Our vision is that we are a globally leading network of impact investing, and we aim to establish Switzerland as the epicenter of impact investing. Our mission is that SIIA encourages all stakeholders to jointly develop a narrative for impact investing for society to adopt, and by being a platform for best practice of impact investing. Our value proposition is that SIIA is an influential private cross-sector driven coalition dedicated to driving more private capital to reorient the economy to serve people and planet. SIIA is uniquely positioned to navigate the impact investing landscape in Switzerland, and we aim to collaborate also with Swiss diplomatic representations around the world to provide a useful link between the fly-in Swiss impact investors and the local stakeholders in the global south. SIIA is also inherently diversified, given the ecosystem it represents, and SIIA is a user of the Chamomile platform that we'll hear more about today. So today's program: how could SIIA provide the central government in Bern, and more specifically the local government in Geneva, with recommendations that could strengthen the Swiss Romandie impact investing ecosystem? What are the tools which the central and local governments can use to catalyze the growth of the Swiss impact investing ecosystem? Today's SIIA webinar will provide the attendees and subsequent YouTube listeners with 4 concrete examples of successful implementation in this regard. And in addition, we hope this webinar will provide a useful source for our SIIA members to learn from one another and tailor ideas for their own needs. To structure the tools that Swiss policymakers can use to catalyze the Swiss national impact investing ecosystem, the Global Steering Group for Impact Investing uses a matrix that combines 2 frameworks. The first, the so-called 5 pillars framework, segment the impact investing ecosystem in terms of 5 main actors, of which today's focus is on respectively the third pillar, that's the intermediaries, which facilitate the exchange of impact capital between the supply and demand side. These include funds, often venture capital funds such as seed starts, or growth funds or funds of funds, as well as wholesalers, stock exchanges such as the Impact Investing Exchange, as well as ecosystem enablers, that's pillar 4. That includes actors that facilitate the impact investing ecosystem without necessarily providing capital, such as the 3 platforms we're going to hear about today: Chamomile, Endness, and UNDP SDG. These additionally range from financial advisors to research centers or the national advisory boards, of which Switzerland will soon embark on the process of setting up a Swiss SNAP through the close collaboration between SIIA, Sustainable Finance Geneva, and Swiss Sustainable Finance. And the second framework is the role of government framework, which looks at the government in terms of market building contribution, that is market facilitators, creating organization and systems that enable and educate on impact, that is, for example, a center of expertise within the government, incubators such as the Impact Hub Geneva, and research centers such as the Geneva Finance Research Institute, as well as market participants supporting the impact investing ecosystem through the commissioning and procurement of impact products and services, and market regulators. So, we come to the core part of the program. Our first speaker today is Mrs. Luisa Eugenia Bernel, who is a policy specialist at the United Nations Development Program located here in Geneva. Over to you, Luisa.
Thank you, Christian. Would it be possible to give me hosting rights to share my screen?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's coming here. Please go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry. Trying to find. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. 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 So thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So as Kristen mentioned, I'm Luisa Bernal from UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So we are not an entity in the financial sector. We are a development agency. And of course, I think we have learned, not only UNDP, but the whole UN system following the MDGs, that financing those represent an important enabler for achieving development results. So we learned from the MDGs that we had very well thought through development plans that were impossible to implement because of lack of not only financial resources, others as well, but certainly finance is necessary. So with the SDGs, both member countries of the UN and also international organizations have stepped up their efforts to ensure that we are able to mobilize and align the finance that we need to the Sustainable Development Goals. And UNDP is part of this within the broader development system, UN development system. So maybe just before going to the platform directly, a few words on how we approach this. And we see the problem of finance as one of governance, of a system that is failing to channel finance in a systematic manner to where it matters most, both in terms of what it finances and also where it finances. So of course, we know that there is a financing gap in developing countries that increased significantly as a result of COVID. So in terms of the needs, they are greater. We also saw significant disruptions in trade and commodities. There is a brewing debt crisis as well, with a lot of countries constrained to be able to finance even their basic needs with liquidity problems, etc. And we also see that in parallel, the financial system and governments as well, they are financing fossil fuel subsidies. We have the banking system financing, sectors and activities that are completely contrary, let's say, to the spirit of both the SDGs and the climate agreement. So for us, it's really not an issue of bringing money where it's lacking and filling a gap. That was a bit of the rationale behind the MDGs. So ODA will come and fill gaps in financing. For the SDGs, we feel that we need to a system change. So it's a governance problem that we need to address through different mechanisms, tools, resources, policy, regulatory frameworks that create the right incentive for both public and private finance to align to the SDGs and to finance the sustainable development in developing countries as well. So UNDP within the broader UN system set up this task to see, okay, within this context, this is our understanding of the problem. What can we do about it? Understanding our development mandate and our strengths and areas that we are certainly not well placed to get into as, as direct financial actors will do. So understanding what is our space and how can we help those in the financial and private sector, maybe then to align and mobilize the resources to the SDGs. So our objective of an organization is to help mobilize a broad constituency that will systematically integrate the SDGs into their economic and financial decision making. And then to develop a platform, particularly at country level. So I will speak a little bit about that. So helping developing countries also to establish these platforms where different stakeholders can participate and move the system forward in terms of providing on the government side the right policy and regulatory framework, and on the private sector probably the right information, disclosure, etc., that will allow the system to unlock the finance and to ensure that this is really aligned to the sustainable development objective. So if I can summarize, we hope that we can bring SDGs to the finance sector and to the private sector more broadly and that we can bring finance to the SDGs so that the SDGs can be financed. So we set up what we call the wheel. This is what you see on the screen, and these are the different areas across which we work with different tools and resources, both on the right-hand side, public finance, so helping governments, as I said, to define their national financing strategy, which will cover public and finance, but then also very specifically working on the budget, for example, to do tagging so that they can follow that the money is going to the SDGs or the national development priorities more broadly, tag also to specific SDGs. And then on the left-hand side, then is more private finance. So how do we help, for example, enterprises, both small and big, to align their operations to the SDGs? So we do a lot of trainings and other support mechanisms like accelerators and others to improve both their competitiveness, but their impact, and how to measure and manage impact better. And other different tools that I will mention, including the platform helping mobilize concretely private finance for investment. So within this broader framework, we have developed what we call an investment offer. So we are trying very concretely, as I said, aligning globally finance to the SDGs, but very concretely, I mean, that will not be enough to bring capital to developing countries, and that's a major concern for us, right? I mean, we would like all global capital to be aligned to the SDGs, but we also want capital to come to developing countries that are being completely bypassed by investment, whether mainstream or impact in many ways. So we have developed within the broad concept that we have for our capacities on sustainable finance. We developed this Sdg Investment Offer, and we're trying to cover 3 areas. So one is generating what we call an Sdg Investment Pipeline, right? So we're trying to work in different ways with many different actors. This is something that we certainly don't do only ourselves. Is identify concretely where are the projects and in what areas we can invest that will help advance the SDGs in particular countries. Then mobilizing or helping mobilize public and private capital for the SDGs, including through de-risking. So here is, as I mentioned, whether it's SDG tagging of the budget to make sure that governments are putting the money where the words are, let's say, where the development plan is, which is supposed to be aligned to the SDGs. Helping government, for example, to do sovereign bonds with a development framework. It could be green bonds, it could be gender bonds. Other UN Women is also working on that. Blue bonds, so that the debt that they issue do have a direct impact. We are able to monitor and report on those impacts. And then with UN CDF, which is a UN entity which actually can do financial transactions. So we do de-risking and we get the first loss, let's say in a transaction, with the idea to crowd in private capital. So we do have these different approaches. So to actually mobilize, help mobilize capital to SDGs in developing countries, and then ensuring the integrity through SDG impact. So we understand the role of ESG, for example. We think that it's great that there is all this interest, but we also see a lot of problems with ESG and all these ratings. We are a bit lost in indexes and numbers, and losing really the real meaning behind that. So what we have done is we have a number of standards that we have issued. These are practice standards, not necessarily on exactly how you report, but it's about helping enterprises, bond issuers, investors to embed impact in their processes, in their decision making, their operations. So how do you do what is the type of governance that you require to systematically monitor that as an entity you are actually implementing and following through SDGs or sustainable development. So we do this, and we do have a number of technical trainings and different approaches that we work with enterprises, for example, to actually help them to embed and be able to better measure and manage their impact. And then supporting an enabling policy environment. This is more traditional, the role of the UN. And we do work, as I mentioned, with government, for example, through the UN system, many different partners, IMF, of course, the different international financial institutions, the European Union, working on what we call integrated national financing frameworks. So this is helping partner countries to identify or understand what is the development landscape, where do they want to get in terms of what would be the ideal structure of that financing landscape to be able to finance their ambitions on the SDGs, and then what kind of reforms are required both institutionally in terms of the legal or regulatory framework to be able to enable, to create an enable system that will allow crowding in private capital, for example, for impact. So we do that. This is more traditional kind of UN role, and we are very much engaged with partners doing that. So this is kind of the type of services on this particular area of enabling investment for the SDGs. So we have one particular instrument that we have developed is what we call the investor map. Basically because a lot of the feedback that we receive from international investors is that they don't know where to invest in developing countries. Where are those SDG opportunities that will help developing countries advance the SDGs and to the investor to make you know, a good return. So we set up to work with partners, again, of course, governments, but other stakeholders locally, to understand in specific markets, what are those investment opportunities areas where we can advance the SDGs. So we are working with partners in doing kind of is a mapping. It's a very consultative process where we go and understand what are the priorities in terms of the national development plan. That is the starting point. But then, of course, sometimes those national plans are very broad and a bit scattered. But then, if you look at where investment is going in terms of public investment, where is really the momentum going, then you start to narrowing down. And we try to gather that, let's say, market intelligence with us partners locally. As you may know, UNDP is physically present in most developing countries. So we are able to have this kind of intelligence of knowing the local context. And increasingly, giving our interest now in sustainable finance, linking to and building relationship with the impact ecosystem or investors, etc., to understand really what is happening and seeing where are really those opportunities. So we produce this investors map by country, which provides this different market intelligence. In addition to the specific sectors, we provide is around 20 data points about the market size of the potential investment. So on the market and what it represents, but also in terms of the impact. What can be expected of impact for investment in those particular areas. So the data that we are gathering through this investors map at the country level, they are uploaded in a platform and we see this really as kind of a public good. So at this point, this is public information. It's not proprietary for particular investors. So we put it out there and we say, okay, if you want to contribute to progress on the SDGs in developing countries, this is a point to start. And there are very interesting investment, commercial opportunities for investors in these countries that we try to extract through this investors map. So this information is available online. This is a kind of a screenshot of the platform that you will find. It's not really an investor matching service. As I said, it's public information, but it will give you an overview of what are the critical areas with a kind of, with this very local knowledge of where real traction is going. I would say that's the value added, because it's not what the priorities are in the national plan or what particular, sector or particular minister may say at the moment, but really understanding what is behind the investment that are being done in the country and where is some private capital already. So sectors that are really ripe and also contribute to the SDGs. So you can see the link in the slide to this platform, and you can use a number of filters per region, per country, sector, subsector, and you can start exploring the information that is out there. So there are a number of these maps done already, and we're hoping that we can do many more to respond to this information gap and at least provide an entry point to investors to review. What you see on the screen right now is an example of an investor
Maybe
map.
the last minute, Luisa, also in
Yes.
your interest of time for your own sake.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I need to go. Yeah, so this is an example for Colombia. Very quickly, just the sectors, subsectors, and this is the type of information that you will see uploaded also in the platform. So 22 investment opportunities areas at the business model level. So very concretely, blockchain, very specific business models per sector. This is also an example of an opportunity area in Colombia, the type of information you will see on for instance, on solar technology and what you can expect. So in addition to the investment opportunities areas, we also try to identify specific projects and ventures that are working in those areas. So when you, as an investor, will come to a country, you can see not only what sectors, but maybe potential partners that are ready to partner with you for impact. So we've been doing this program now, Growth Stage Impact Ventures, where we identify enterprises that are commercially viable. So these are totally private sector commercial entities. And we, through a very rigorous process, identify these enterprises. And we look at both their financial and economic figures and indicators, the potential for scaling, and then also what kind of impact they are having. And through, we work with EPFL and other partners to do this selection process, and we bring them to the attention of different partners. So we did this in Colombia. We have the investor map, and then we identify enterprises that are working in those sectors. And this is the result of the process. So we basically make a call for nomination. We ask other investors, accelerators, government entities, international organizations to nominate enterprises that were working in those different sectors. We received 91 nominations and 61 third party. So this third party nominators is a way to identify actors in the ecosystem that are interesting for partnering with UNDP and continuing to develop the ecosystem for impact in particular countries. So for us, this is very valuable information, but also the enterprises themselves, because then we can make connection with investors and other partners like here in Switzerland and say, okay, in Colombia, we can show you these specific sectors where you can advance the SDGs and some potential partners, at least for you to start exploring. Okay. So this is the example, and this is just an example of all the many organizations and entities we work with for partnering. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Luisa. Maybe just before you run away, normally we have the Q&A after all of the presentation, but since you have to leave now, one of my colleagues, she just have a couple of burning questions that she would like to raise. So Denise, over to you.
Hi. So I just give a bit background in 2 sentences. I worked with UNDP Turkey and Istanbul International Center for Private Sector in Development in line with this SDG investor map and creating the first steps basically with them as a consultant. So we worked on a platform for Turkey to really mobilize, as you said, the private money and the public money for the projects. So we have seen in the platform that needed more dynamism so that investors can go and see and look and also can rely on certain work done on the due diligence of those investment opportunities on the platform. So what is the expectation from all the parties involved in this environment to know first they need to know that this platform exists and how to use and how to reach out for the investors or intermediaries. What is the plan to make it more visible to the investor world of this platform?
Yeah, indeed. Well, the platform is relatively recent, and we are very actively trying to spread the information and share the information and say, okay, this is available. So far, we have basically the investment opportunities areas uploaded. We would like to bring gradually also, as we expand our programs, to bring also the ventures, the companies or pipelines, because we're working also with third parties, intermediaries. We have done it, for example, in Ghana. We had the investor map and an intermediary, which is known in the Geneva ecosystem ground-up project, has developed a pipeline of 39 million also across sectors in that investor map. So we want to upload that to the extent that it's still public information. And we are very actively really trying to bring that information to the knowledge of all different investors. So if you have any suggestions, certainly that's something that we are aiming to do.
Yeah. I can share what we started doing. Is we create, I'm supporting the both UNDP groups by bringing investors from my network and to support the projects that are in Turkey and looking for not only for the capital, but also guidance and strategy, corporate strategy and growth outside Turkey, in the region that they want to be present. And we did, we did one, and it was very successful. We very selective in a closed meeting. We had 5 opportunities out of 27 investment areas in Turkey with 5 investors. And it was not pitching environment. It was just 5 minutes each to know each other. It was a connection. So I was there connecting them. And now we will do the second one because it was well received. And the UNDP's role was purely facilitating, really the objective of really mobilizing the private money. We have seen also that maybe can also mention what your plans are for this. The innovative finance you mentioned a bit, de-risking. We also thought that in the training we have given, I provided the innovative finance training. We can mobilize the private money by putting the public money as the guarantees and first loss. So what do you think about, spreading that to the investor communities, intermediaries, accelerators, so that that opportunity exists to support the small businesses, SMEs to grow in a fund level, as an aggregate level. Do you have any plans to go further on that to make it more visible again?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we have certain limitations in terms of the actual our role in the de-risking side. So we partner with UNCDF, and that we've been doing with them. We are looking at what else can we do as UNDP directly, but otherwise we are working with intermediaries, again, financial intermediaries that can help really aggregate and do the direct matching and deal making that we are unable to do ourselves. So as part of this vision that we have for SDG investment, we are really actively looking to those partners to actually facilitate as much as we can within our space, and they bring in the final mile, let's say, of the financial instrument that we are unable to provide. But similarly, as you did in Turkey, we are doing on the 24th of March, for instance, we are doing in Colombia a session where it will be a hybrid event when we have local investors, but also virtually. And I hope you will receive all an invitation to participate, because it's the finalists from the selection that we did in Colombia. The ventures will do their pitch. And we hope that will be, if not, of course, closing deals already, but the start of some conversations and partnerships that we will help to leverage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, because you have a time limited, and hopefully to talk to you soon.
Feel free to contact me.
I would love to. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Denise. Thank you very much, Luisa. Luisa, if you can just put back this so we can hand it on to the next speaker. So thank you very much. And our next speaker is Svetlana Banerjee, who is a TED speaker, a TV presenter, a founder and managing director of the Impact Investing School and the impact community Chamomile. And she's also the co-founder and president of Galilei International Impact Investing Center and a board member of the Swiss Impact Investing Association. So, Svetlana, without any further ado, over to you.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks for inviting me today. Hi to everyone. And I am delighted to present one of the biggest impact investing networks existing on our planet, which is called Chamomile. Let me just quickly share my screen, and then I can start the presentation. Can you see my screen?
It's on the way. Still waiting for it to come up. It's taking its time.
Yes, I see that it's turning. Just let me try it one more time. Can you see it now, Christian?
Oh, yeah, voila, it's there.
Hallelujah. Well, sometimes the technique is not playing right away, but when you persist, it does. All right, one more time, welcome to Chamomile Impact Community. And I want to start with a very simple question, actually. How to save the world for future generations? I'm sure you are one of those who already asked yourself this question. And this is why we face so many different problems around the globe, as pollution of oceans, but also land pollution, decreasing biodiversity, fires, and so on. So how can we save the world for future generations? And the problem is very simple, right? It's about capital. We need to shift capital towards sustainable development goals, and the amount is 5 to 7 trillions annually till 2030 in order to achieve that. Well, the ones who are new to finance, they might think, well, it's quite big money, right? But you will see that in a minute, that impact investing has already more than $1 trillion in the market, and it's increasing every year. So we truly believe that it's realistic to shift the capital. And so vision of Chamomile is very simple: achieving sustainable development goals. We are coming together to make impact investing the new normal in the financial world, but also just in business world, that people know that impact investing exists. And when they know, they can transform their businesses, they can include SDGs into their business models. And so they can get capital from impact investing sector. As I said, the market is already above $1 trillion. But of course, we are facing different challenges, and one of them is lack of awareness and education. It is still not normal that everyone on the street is aware of SDGs, right? If you make yourself an experiment and ask someone what are SDGs, I think in 99% people will look at you and say, what? Right, so we are trying to raise awareness also with our platform and help people to get accessible education on this topic so they can engage and act, right? The second challenge, that even though there are a lot of actors, there are more than 1,720 organizations nowadays involved in impact investing sector, it's still very fragmented, and there is no global impact community which would act for SDGs together. And there is no platform which would unite and connect them all. And this is why we came up with our solution, Chamomile Impact Community, right? It's not an investment platform, as there are some platforms out there which are basically deal platforms where investors and projects come in and they connect and invest. So Chamomile is much more than that. You can connect, you can learn, You can also fundraise. And of course, if you're an investor, you can find amazing investment opportunities on the platform. So it is for impact investors, experts, and businesses who contribute something for SDGs. But we are also welcoming newcomers. If you are new, you can get onto the platform, get connected, learn, and engage with your expertise. So meaningful engagement is one of the big topics also on the platform. What are we doing, or what can you do on the platform? You can publish your investment opportunity if you're looking for capital. You can also publish if you are looking for advisory board, other resources, team members, and you can build your community around and also invite your communities, because we have many associations on the platform who are bringing their members on the platform, and like this we grow. Why are we doing what you are doing? As I said, it's very simple: achieve sustainable development goals together. All right, who are our members? So till now, we've been organically growing, and we got a lot of people who are already doing something in this sector, right? Stephen Brennick-Myers, I'm sure you know CNA Foundation and his company is Willow Investment. He is impact investing player who is there from the beginning. He's also one of the founders of Responsibility. We have also, for example, ex-Prime Minister Balkanande, and we have Prince Michael of Liechtenstein, head of European Investment Bank, and so on. There are many more high-profile members whom you can meet if you become a member of Chamomile. All right, what else can you do? So basically, if you are a project, you can showcase your project or business or a fund to show what are you doing, what is your impact, how people can engage with you. You can announce investment opportunities, you can connect. So it's all kind of holistic approach. We didn't want it to be just investment platform. We wanted to open it to everyone, to different areas of expertise and different stakeholders of the sector. And it's very multifunctional. You can also, for example, publish your events and invite closed groups or everyone on Chamomile or all the public which is out there, to bring them on the platform. It's very cool that you can also conduct polls with the community and publish contests. I wanted to show you, we just closed Impact Leaders 2022, a competition with the original Shark Tank from US, Kevin Harrington, who has himself more than 100 sorry, not 120 businesses with 100 billion turnover. And Kevin was one of our juries, and his intention is to, in the next 20 years, to get more into impact investing sector. We had amazing finalists, and before that, semi-final, like 17 startups from all over the world, from US to India, also Madagascar, amazing projects. And at the end, 7 finalists who were pitching to Kevin and got feedback from him as an investor. So if you never pitched yourself and maybe you know projects, pass them the link to watch, because it's very valuable how it is happening in the reality, not just behind the scene. Everyone is talking, you can pitch to investor. Here is a real life, okay? Here is investor, they're pitching, and he provides feedback. So share it inside your community. What is the magic of Chamomile, or where do we see ourselves? We are very ambitious, and we would love to have 100 million users by 2025. To make impact investing the new normal and get people to act towards sustainable development goals. They can engage as a person, in professional life, and of course, with their investment. Our team, beside myself, is Ben Banerjee, who is the president of SIIA. We have Kevin Harrington as an advisor, but we also have a lot of inspiring ambassadors and other advisors from different sectors, from academics, from impact investing, funds side, and so on, also from foundation side. We have a lot of partners. Binge Networks, for example, it's 100 of smart TVs where we also spread such competitions like impact leaders, that we get really wide outreach. And if you ever watched our TV shows, this Impact with Banerjees, it's currently broadcasted to around 200 million people. So we are really trying to make impact investing the new normal, and Camel Mile is a platform where all our guests who are coming to the TV are becoming also members. If you want to meet them, then you should definitely become the member of Camel Mile, and I would be delighted if you have any investment or partnership requests to answer it in person. Thanks so much. I hope I'm on time, Christian, and I'm also available for questions if there are any.
Yes, thank you very much, Svetlana. You were on time, but it was very much appreciated since we are behind schedule. So let's quickly take the two last presentations before we open up the floor for Q&A. So I had originally planned to have Mr. Johan Franzen, a fellow Scandinavian based in Geneva, but he would be represented by a member of the Endness team, improving the impact and success of entrepreneurs everywhere. So, Mr. Franzen, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. Nice to meet you. My name is David Franzen. As you might have guessed, I am related to Johan. Johan is my father. Together with Johan, we co-founded Endness back in 2015. Johan is the CEO and I am the COO. Unfortunately, Johan himself could not be here this evening as he needs to travel back to Sweden for some personal matters. Yes, I'm fully aware of everything we do here at Endness, so happy to take over for him today. I will also then just be sharing my screen here. Let me see. I believe you can see my screen now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
great. I will head over into present mode so it's nice and clear. Great. So yes, Endness, the home of entrepreneurs. We are, as you may already know, a professional digital platform for the entrepreneurship ecosystem. As Christian also mentioned in the introduction, our mission statement is to improve the impact and success of entrepreneurs everywhere. It's definitely something that is being talked about a lot and has been talked about for a long time, that unfortunately the entrepreneurship success rate is too low. We know, of course, that we will never have 100% success rate. We were, as a community, as a species, will probably never even come close to 100% success rate. That's just not very physically possible, but there are a lot of factors leading to this low success rate, and these are the factors that we really try to work on. So what I'd like to do in my short 10 minutes here is just to give you a little bit of an insight into what it is that Endness is, what it is we do, and of course also giving you some insight into what our plans are for the future. I would like to maybe just start with what I have here in the bottom right-hand corner, that Endness is live. We were founded back in 2015, so we have been around for a number of years already, but we are still pre-launch, and I will get to what I mean by that in just a moment as well. So maybe to start with is just the basics of what Endness is. So as mentioned, it's a professional digital platform for entrepreneurship in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. You'll see at the center top there are sort of three circles that really highlight what we believe to be the three key pillars of Endness. They are that Endness is an invite-only community. Endness is an all-in-one toolbox, and Endness is also a network of networks. So just to jump into each of these three in a little bit more detail, the concept of Endness being invite-only is really to stimulate a curated community filled exclusively with trusted and relevant people, right? To take an example, LinkedIn is a great platform for networking, right? There's an abundance of people to connect with. However, there is basically no threshold for entering LinkedIn, for becoming a member in LinkedIn. And myself personally, and I'm sure it's similar with you, that you occasionally will get messages by or connection requests by people that maybe aren't relevant to you, and so there's that question. So within Endness, we really want to have exclusively entrepreneurs and people that work with entrepreneurs to really have a symbiotic relationship within the platform. The second pillar then, with it being an all-in-one toolbox, that's also something that we're seeing in today's ecosystem, is that the leading solutions currently are either single use or have very few functionalities. So we're currently using Zoom for this video call, which is a great video calling service, but it's not much more than a video calling service. You might then use Slack or Discord or WhatsApp for your groups. You might use LinkedIn for your networking. You might use email newsletters, right? You currently need to use so many different tools, and that causes inefficiencies and lack of focus and all that kind of thing. So what we've done within Endness is also identified a number of key tools and either develop them ourselves, or also now have started to partner with services to really make it easy for our members to log in the morning and essentially have access to all the things that they need in one place. And finally, the third element there, network of networks, I think is also becoming incredibly important to improve the impact and success of entrepreneurs everywhere. The reason for this is that as entrepreneurship becomes a more mainstream concept, which is great, there is more support for entrepreneurship, which is also great. However, it's unfortunate to see that a lot of these support initiatives are developing their own internal or their own network, right? If you're in a co-working space, you might be part of some kind of digital or some kind of community, but you're very likely to be restricted to the members of only that same very community. So if we take a macro perspective, we have hundreds of thousands, if not even millions of individual networks that are not connected with each other. So what Endness really wants to be is this digital sort of macro ecosystem upon which we can host networks. And within Endness, you can have a private sub-community for your co-working space or your incubator or your investment group or whatever it is that you have as a community, and make that really private. And of course has access to all the tools in one place, but then still that your private sub-community has access to the global ecosystem. So these are really the three key pillars that we're based on. I don't, of course, want to read off the left side of the screen, but maybe you've had the chance to read a little bit about that. It's all about trust, right? We're trying to stimulate synergies instead of duplication, collaboration. While we are a technical platform, we very much believe in the human interaction. So we are also very close with our community members, really trying to understand their needs and trying to really help them bring forward. We don't just want to be another platform where you can sign up and then, you know, it's up to you to get value, but we like to be very close and personal with all of our community members. For now, we actually already have more than 7,500 members in our platform, and this has happened exclusively organically. So we have not spent a single Swiss franc ever on the promotion of our platform. It's been exclusively organic growth, and we have already members from more than 65 countries. So this is what I mean in the sense that we are live, but we have not yet really started to push the growth of the platform, but that is coming up. Of course, I understand that this session here is a lot about impact. That's also something that that's very key to what we do. I think in two ways. One of the ways you can see here on the right side is that Endness at its core is a for-profit company, but we will in the near future be setting up a non-profit organization, the Endness Fund, and we will be funneling 51% of our profit from Endness into the Endness Fund, as well as receiving grants, subsidies, sponsorships, and donations into the fund. And then this fund will be taking that capital and reinvesting it back into the Endness community in the form of grants, subsidies, and direct investments. And the second way in which that we are really trying to also push the impact side of things is that we have recently announced a grant program for SDG companies, where we are distributing 100,000 Swiss francs so not in cash, but in service grants to companies around the world that are working on SDG initiatives. And we are already proud to have accepted and onboarded 10 SDG companies, most of which are based in Africa, but we have also 2 in Canada and a couple of others that are coming in as well. So we're really now starting to work towards our launch. So what is actually meant by our launch? So what we also know is that from the moment that we start pushing Endness towards sort of like growth and now becoming really a platform and ecosystem of entrepreneurs, is that we know that we need to have the complete ecosystem. If you as an entrepreneur come into Endness and you might be looking for incubators, we need to have incubators in Endness. We need to have accelerators. We need to have co-working spaces. We need to have investors, etc. So we've identified these 12 categories that you can see on the right side. And we are now preparing for our launch in August of 2022. And we have now, or are about to, I should better say, most likely next week, start reaching out to a number of organizations in each of these categories in both Switzerland and the Netherlands. These are our two launching markets, that we will be offering the ability to be launch partners. And the idea, of course, is then at launch, Endness, as well as these launch partners, will all collectively be promoting Endness, and we can then see an incredible growth of members, and of course then value for the existing members and the new members coming in, so that together we can, of course, now really start to create impact. Yeah, what it is that we are now looking to do is actually to start, of course, connecting with these organizations as potential launch partners. On the left, you'll see the list of organizations or organization types that we are looking to connect with: startups and scale-ups, of course, incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, service providers. What I mean by service providers are notaries, tax advisors, administration offices, digital marketing, etc., any kind of service provider for entrepreneurship. We'd love to, of course, increase the way in which that we work with regional development agencies, corporate innovation. So I'd love to speak with both Svetlana from Chamomile, also, of course, from Luisa from UNDP, and also, I don't remember off the top of my head, who will be speaking for Seed Stars, and of course, Christian, yourself as well from SIIA. And the benefits, of course, of being a launch partner are listed here on the right side. Until launch, of course, there'll be a completely free business profile. We'll be offering a massive discount to these launch partners for the first 5 years. We will be offering promotion both before, during, and after the launch, support, as mentioned, to be really close with our community, and of course, being the recommended partner. So as the launch will generate massive growth of our community, if you as a service provider are there, we of course will be able to funnel a lot of business development in your direction. So I hope that you have a little bit more of a clear understanding as to what it is that we do with Endness. Again, our mission is to improve the impact and success rate of entrepreneurs everywhere. I did mention that Endness is an invite-only community. I do believe that Christian has been very able to invite people to this call that are all relevant. So as a result, I am happy to share my personal invite link to Endness here in this chat. So if you are not yet an Endness, feel free to create a profile and have a look around. If you're interested in becoming a launch partner or any other way that you see a collaboration, I'd love to speak with you further as well.
Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. Let's go on to the last speaker. I know, Svetlana, you have to leave. I think your presentation was very, very elaborate. So I think we're going to let her leave. We'll get a chance to hear more of the chamomile in the forthcoming SIIA series. So let's move on to our last speaker.
Absolutely. I mean, I will be, you have my email, and feel free to reach out or connect on Chamomile, watch our TV, join Chamomile. Also, it's more possible to join for free, and then visit time you can upgrade your membership. So we are definitely in touch, and let's grow this impactful community together. Thanks for having me with you today, Christian.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So our last speaker today is Mr. Charlie Graham Brown. He's the Chief Investment Officer and co-founder of SeedStart. So without any further ado, Charlie, over to you. And
hi, Christian. Hi, everybody.
Make you the co-host in case you have some slides you want to share with us. Voila, go ahead.
That would be good. Pictures always help in these things, right?
Exactly.
Super. Well, thanks so much for the invitation, Christian. And good to meet some of you, I guess, those of you have been presenting at least. I will just take, I think, 5 minutes, and then I prefer that we can get some discussion time before you run out of time. So I'll try and keep it quick. I wanted to just introduce you all, for those of you who don't know, to SeedStars and the activity and the work that we've been doing since we founded the company back in 2013. As Christian said, I'm Charlie. I'm one of the partners and have been with the company pretty much since the beginning. Before SeedStars, I was with Blue Orchard for about 4 years, so I've been focused on emerging markets since 2009. That's really been all that I've done since then, so last 13 years or so. What ties SeedStars together is emerging markets, technology, and entrepreneurship. So everything we do revolves around that sort of theme. Essentially, we've grown the organization to have 2 different angles. So there's SeedStars Community, and then there's SeedStars Capital. SeedStars Community is what we started with, and the goal there is really to work on the human capital side of things. So it's about educating founders, educating entrepreneurs, bringing best practices, bringing mentorship, bringing the tools and the know-how and the knowledge to the entrepreneurs in emerging market, building high growth tech-enabled companies that are most frequently solving one or more of the SDGs. That was the piece that we really got started with back in 2013. And it wasn't until 2017 that we started working on the second axis, which is SeedStars Capital. And the natural evolution from, first of all, working on human capital was then towards working with the financial capital side of things. So now we have a fairly, I guess, holistic approach to entrepreneurship in emerging markets, where we can support founders on the education side, on the talent side, and when they are ready, when they reach a certain stage of development, of maturity, support them with the financial capital side of things. The way we've developed and I guess the offer for the entrepreneurs, we've really tried to go from the sort of A to Z of the entrepreneurial journey. So whether it's at the idea stage or angel, seed, series A, we've really tried to have different offers and different initiatives that help entrepreneurs and help these early stage ventures grow, scale, and deliver on their promise of solving some of the SDG challenges. Concretely, what that transitions into then is, I guess, 3 different layers. So on one layer, there's the community side of things. We've been running a global startup competition since back in 2013. It's now touched over 95 different countries. We've got co-working spaces in a number of different markets, and then program content education that sort of services different needs depending on the stage of an entrepreneur. To give some examples of the types of partners and challenges we've been working on, you have here a few different verticals. So in the ag space, education, energy, finance, and health, and some of the different partners we've worked with. The way this works is really it's a co-creation. So a foundation or a government or a corporate will come to us and ask us to co-create a program together. So there'll be a certain theme, there'll be a certain sector, a certain stage in mind, and we'll come up with a program together to try and help solve one or more of these challenges. When it comes to the SeedStars Capital side and the investments, a few examples here just to, again, have a more concrete use case in mind of types of companies we're backing and some of the stats there. So we've invested now in about 75 different companies. You'll see a lot of that is in fintech, so in the financial services, and I can maybe just touch on a couple of these companies and what they do. Healthlane, for example, is providing digital health services in both Cameroon and Nigeria. Red Capital is providing financing to SMEs. POS Rocket is helping SMEs in the MENA region digitize. Gravity is providing access to finance to purchase solar water heaters. So, very different models, but what ties them all together is the fact that they all leverage tech. These are software companies. They are able to grow rapidly. They're able to grow cross-border. And they provide attractive investment opportunities for funds like ourselves and the other investors you see here. The social impact side of it is definitely embedded both in the program side, as we saw before, but also on the investment side. So with our first fund, we've invested, as I mentioned, just over 75 companies. And you have here a bit of a breakdown of the different SDGs that our portfolio companies are working on. At a worst case, our portfolio companies are creating economic growth and job opportunities, but the vast majority are working on one or more of these SDGs. These are the typical ones that we see our portfolio companies working on. The final message I wanted to leave was just where the market is going and the momentum that is now in the market. We started working in emerging markets in 2013 with Stars. And here you have the numbers of VC-backed deals since 2016. I haven't added on 2021 yet, apologies for that. But up until 2020, the market actually doubled just in those years. So 2016, you had about 500 VC-backed companies. In 2020, it's over 1,000. So it's more than doubled. And there is still room for a lot of work, more actors. There's a need for capital still. There's a need for education, for more talent. But I think it is commendable to not just ourselves, but the other members who presented, UNDP and so forth, just how far these ecosystems have come since I think a lot of us turned our attention to these markets in these last few years. So I'm extremely confident about where we are today and where the markets are going. When you see a sort of 40% growth rate in the number of quality, and this is VC-backed deals, so these are high quality entrepreneurs building tech-enabled businesses. Extremely positive with where we're going, and yeah, hope we can all do more together in the space. That's all from me, Christian. So over to you. Christian, we don't hear you though.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Charlie, for your presentation. So we'll jump straight into the Q&A. Unfortunately, two of our speakers, Luisa and Svetlana, had to leave us. So we'll, so you have the privilege, Charlie and David, to get a chance to further elaborate a little bit on your very interesting presentations, and of course, captivating what you're both doing. So let me start with you, David. With regard to the tools, you talked about the marketplace. What exactly is this marketplace and how does it work? And my second question to you is, there's a lot of, you put a lot of emphasis on trust. Why is trust the most important driver of the community? I understand that basically you can only go to this platform by invitation, and everyone can see who's invited who. So what is the advances of this approach versus other approaches?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Christian. So you mentioned trust, you mentioned the sort of invite system, and you mentioned also the marketplace. So I'm going to try to cover all of that. I think maybe a good place to start is the concept of trust and why we decided to make it invite only. With everything being at our fingertips today, there's just so much distraction as well. And it is, of course, when it comes to collaboration and building businesses and making impact and investing your time, investing your capital, you want to do that with people that you trust, or that at least others trust. There needs to be some sort of threshold or like pre-filter to ensuring that at least somebody trusts this person. You also mentioned something that I didn't mention in my presentation, so I know that that's good that you know that outside of my presentation, is that also everybody can see who has invited the other people. And the idea here also is that if, for example, if I invite Isabel to Endness, and if Isabel joins on her profile, it'll forever say that she was invited by me. So in inviting Isabel, I am putting my name on the line almost, that she is a relevant person. And in the future, if Isabel invites her colleagues, her name will be on their profiles, which will enable sort of a digital trust chain. So it really facilitates sort of pre-screening of the people that you can or should not work with. So we really believe that trust is core to everything we do. And that's also something that's also very important for us, is that it's much more about quality than quantity, right? We have absolutely no intent of having billions of members. We will rather focus on having relevant, trusted members rather than billions of people on the platform. You asked also about the marketplace. So the marketplace is actually a feature that we've only introduced very recently. So it's still in the very early stages. But the concept of a marketplace is in our opinion, a tool to facilitate exchange, collaboration, value creation, and growth. So what you can do in the Endness marketplace is you can place offers or you can place needs. And these offers or needs are either visible to everybody else within Endness, if that's how you add it, or you can even make offers and needs visible only to specific groups. So you can sort of set the privacy level of these offers and needs. We're just trying to create an opportunity for our members to, if they need investment, if they need talent, if they're looking for advice, if they are offering a service, an opportunity to share and broadcast what it is they're doing, to facilitate value creation. That's really all what it comes down to.
Okay, thanks a lot, David. Charlie, I have a few questions to you. So what makes you a seed star? Or let me put it differently, I can understand that you're an engineer that has then ventured into finance, and you actually were working with Blue Orchid, which is one of the pioneers of the impact investing ecosystem in Switzerland. What triggered the decision for you to leave, let's say, probably a comfortable situation as a fund manager with Blue Orchid to go in and become a seed star? And out of curiosity, why are you all wearing sports jackets, the whole team? And last but not least, as you could see with Svetlana, they're 2025, they're aiming to have 100 million users of their platform. David and Endness are about to launch, and they also have ambitious objectives. So where's Seed Start heading in the next few years?
Brilliant. I've never had some of those questions before, so that's a good question. Nice and original. Isn't my personal story? I guess I've often opted for, there's generally a trend going on in amongst my friends, my network, and I remember leaving university, everyone was going into consulting, investment banking. I almost went that route. I'd signed a contract, and I said, you know what, this is too common now. Everyone's doing it, so let's go do something else. So I went to Paris, did an MBA for engineers to kind of get into more the business finance side of things. I then did make a mistake. I went into sort of traditional asset management. I lasted for a year and a half before realizing I was, too like everyone else, and went into the impact side of things. So joining Blue Orchid was a very conscious decision of, one, trying to do finance, do something that is driven by capital markets, that has this double, back then it was kind of the double bottom line or triple bottom line. That was the term people were using. So it was that very conscious decision. But secondly, just from a day-to-day job, it was extremely exciting being on the private markets versus the public markets. Public markets, it's you read analyst reports, you read company reports, and that's about as hands-on as you get. Private markets, which is where Blue Orchid operates and what we're doing with Seed Stars, it's really much more of an interpersonal, there's a lot more of that sort of touch and feel that goes into it, which I absolutely love. I think business has to be about people and those interactions, and I think that's what gives it the flavor and the color and really the enjoyment. The other reason, why I left Blue Orchid was I actually left Blue Orchid to do my own entrepreneurial journey to start with before joining the founding team of Seed Stars. So I had that entrepreneurial itch that I had to satisfy. And the first venture that I launched, I realized it wasn't a venture where I had founder market fit. And that was, I guess, a life lesson for me. Being a founder is an extremely challenging ordeal almost, and you need extreme resilience and I think passion to see it through to the end. And I didn't have that with the venture that I started when I left Blue Orchid, and I do have that with Seed Stars. And SeedStars, we've been around for a while now. I think we still have a real startup mentality and consider ourselves very much to be a startup. And all of the lessons and learnings that we go through, we can share with the portfolio companies that we back. That maybe brings me to your second question, why we wear sports jackets. It's an analogy we often use. The resilience of high-level sports men and women, I think, is very relevant in the startup world. You need to be constantly training, trying to do better. People in sport, athletes are very much data driven. How fast can you run? Very measurable. How well your business is doing. How do you measure that? That's what we try and bring. Why we try and have that analogy between sports and business, which is why, well, one of the reasons I think sports is an analogy we use a lot. The jackets, though, I think it was a branding decision and something that we all like wearing, and very proud to be SeedStars and the brand that we built. Where we're going, listen, there's two different, I guess, pillars that we're trying to build up. So on one hand, it's the programs, and then on the other side, it's the capital. So the objective on the program side is to implement and to operate as many programs and educate as many entrepreneurs as we can. We have objectives in mind for that, in leading up to 2030, which I don't necessarily have on the top of my head. Apologies for that. But it is about growing the access to education for entrepreneurs in emerging markets. The other side of it, on the capital side, which is really where I focus right now, our goal is about growing the AUMs, the assets under management that we have, and the capital we can deploy into emerging markets. We're raising a number of funds right now, and again, the goal is to have 6 or 7 different investment strategies running within the next 2 or 3 years. So that's either regional funds, thematic funds, or so either country level, regional level, or thematic level, or thematic, which can be global funds. So it's really about growing those AUMs very aggressively over the coming years.
So I can see you're not getting less busy in the coming years. I could see that
no.
You're adding 30 companies per year. So as a Chief Investment Officer, plenty of things to do. Okay, we only have a few minutes left, and we only have a few participants who are still with us. Are there any of our remaining attendees who would want to ask any last burning question? That's not the case. Maybe one final question to both of you. Having heard the other presenters and also having heard what we are doing at SIIA, are there any way by which you could see yourself collaborating with some of the other platforms or intermediaries that we have seen today? And or the other, if that's too sensitive, is there anything that you could see an organization such as Swiss Impact Investing Association supporting your endeavor, either with our work, from the presentation I did today? Any comments on that?
Yeah, happy to comment. I think I was very transparent about our intentions in my presentation, that we're looking now for launch partners. Something that I think I maybe did not mention in my presentation, but is also very core for us, is that we want to be the sort of the digital tech infrastructure, while absolutely not competing with the operations of the organizations that we collaborate with. We are not a venture builder. We are not an investor. We are not an incubator, accelerator, co-working space. We want to be a place for all of those support organizations, as we collectively call them, to collaborate with each other, within themselves, etc. So I put in the chat as well, Charlie, I'd be happy to set up a separate call. I do believe you may actually already be in Endness, but I think that was from a while ago. I think a number of things have changed since then. Christian, likewise, we'd be happy to speak with you about collaborating with SIIA. Isabel, thank you for already reaching out to me. Happy to speak with you also separately. So yeah, we are absolutely open to collaborate.
Great. So we have one bridge builder among us. And you, Charlie, are you also a bridge builder besides being a seed star?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've been in touch with Johan before, David. And I wrote to Louisa because I think it would be definitely relevant for us to help them source some of those investment opportunities and the pipeline that they were talking about in their investment map. So I think that's definitely, yeah, I think you're doing a good job, Christian, building bridges. I'm sure there are many more, and definitely look forward to more events like this. And I'm happy to connect anytime.
Okay, thanks a lot, both of you. Let me just very quickly close. So, so why collaborate with SIIA? So by joining, you'll be joining the largest global community of investing organizations in Switzerland. And as a member, you'll be able to shape the impact investing efforts in Switzerland, share knowledge, research, and best practices between Swiss cantons and other countries, provide advocacy and policy support, safeguard the integrity of the impact investing ecosystem versus ESG greenwashing, identify how impact capital can be used to achieve the SDGs, and identify and develop new opportunities in the global south, as well as enable entrepreneurship, innovation, and capital to deliver impact at a scale following best practices. And how do we do that? So our strategy is basically to mobilize the impact investing capital from Switzerland to the global south. We are doing that through our annual impact summit in Zug, our Building Bridges week session in Geneva, which we started doing last year, our monthly webinar series, including this one, as well as what we call the Zug Geneva Impact Investing Circle webinar series, collaboration with other members in the system, such as Swiss Sustainable Finance Geneva, and of course, the Impact Hub Switzerland. Establishment, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are in the process of setting up a national advisory board for impact investing in Switzerland, and of course to advocate for Switzerland as an impact investing hub, and importantly also to lobby the federal and the local government to make sure that Switzerland has a conducive impact investing ecosystem. So who are our members? As you can see, we have all types of organizations, the suppliers, the bonders, intermediaries, market enablers, as well as policy and regulators. And we are present both in the French-speaking and the German-speaking parts of Switzerland. This is some of the activities that we have. So next, this Tuesday, the 22nd of March, we're going to have another event, which is basically a follow-up to the Building Bridges, where we'll have Nicholas Nickley from the Canton Geneva's Economics Department in conversation with Callie Taylor, who was a project manager and for the Building Bridges event, to look forward to that. Memberships for corporates and for profit organizations, 1,000 Swiss francs, and for non-profits and individuals, 250 on an annual basis. That will grant you access to the summit as well as our activity in Geneva. And last but not least, we have a survey that we're going to be launching on Friday. The survey will be launched on slido.com using SIIA 2022 as a code word. Basically, if you just allow me a couple of minutes, the survey it should not take more than 15 minutes to fill out the survey. There's some quick information about your background and where it's a survey that's targeting social and impact enterprises exclusively. So what are the stages of the business life? Where are you in terms of fundraising? What kind of ticket sizes are you looking for? Does the company have any of the environmental policy, human rights policies? Where are you operating in the world, including Switzerland? What types of investment instrument are you looking for? And then some questions about your perception of Switzerland as an ecosystem for impact enterprises, where you can rate that. And then we have one section. The last section is about social entrepreneurship in Switzerland. What sectors are you working in, and where are you in terms of the growth? And these kind of questions, which SDGs are you covering, as we saw in one of the previous presentations. And then last but not least, we have a few questions about whether you found the information well. Since we are only 6 people left now, I'm not going to launch the survey on Slido where these questions are raised. But I would like to draw the attention, since this event is being recorded. So we're going to share this recording with all our members and potential members. So I wanted to highlight, since Isabella is also with us today, that we are launching also 3 working groups, technical working groups. So one is Tech for Good, which will be led by Isabella Albert. And then we'll have another one on public-private cooperation led by Derek, the Stock Albert. And then finally, a group on faith and ethic-based impact fund managers led by myself. So yeah, that was all. Thank you very much for your attention. If you would like to know more about SIIA or would like to join our organization, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or to Ben Banerjee, the president, or info.siia.ch. And that's all for today. I wish you all a great evening, and I look forward to continued engagement with our 4 excellent presenters today. Thanks a lot and have a nice evening.
Thanks, Christian. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Christian.
Thank you.